All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, hour number 3 underway. Get to Jake Thompson here in just a moment. I did get a text in during the break. Friend of the show. Tell Greg Mountain Brook schools move to the whole week off Thanksgiving starting next year.
No, not doing it.
You guys care about school for one more year, and then next year you don't care about school?
No, that's all we do is care about school.
But that's you just
not all of us are
not caring about schools because they have the week off Thanksgiving this year.
All of us in the Brook are going pro in something other than sports
until next year.
No, I'm worried about this year.
That's
the problem.
You're
like
year.
Ole Miss and a bunch of other places that are worried about next year. I'm worried about right now. I'm worried about today. What's right in front of me? It's the process. I'm focused on the task at hand. And the task at hand right now is doing a tremendously outstanding third hour of radio.
Let's try to do that then.
Marconi award-winning hour of radio.
Well, Jake Thompson will probably help us with that as we discuss this Ole Miss football team and this game coming up. I'm going to start with that, Jake, the actual football on the field. Is there a place that you feel like Mississippi State offers certain threats to this football team stylistically that could allow them to pull the upset Friday morning?
I think it's the only way, and thanks for having me on this morning, guys, but I think the only way that that's possible is if they let Shapen or Taylor, whoever their quarterback is find holes and advantage in that secondary. That's still the one big weakness to this Ole Miss defense. Even though Kite is coming back, hopefully healthy, he's been good this year, but there's been flashes. But overall, for all 11 games so far, it's been the one problem is they've allowed offenses who usually aren't that great at passing to just look like all SEC offenses in that. Beyond that, I think the front line and the linebackers, those two levels can keep things in check. But if the secondary gets a little sloppy, that's the problem.
How would you assess being able to kind of hold up against the run? I know that feels like such a hot button topic in recent weeks, given what Georgia did and what we've seen from this state defense kind of regressing down the stretch. Can they hold up against Kewan Lacey in the run game?
Yeah, no, I think that's on Ole Miss's side of things, that's the biggest key of the game is can Lacey, I guess the second leading SEC rusher, do what the current SEC leading rusher did, Ahmad Hardy did a couple weeks ago and put up 300 and 3 touchdowns. I think Lacey has that ability. This offensive line has gotten so much better the back half of the season for Ole Miss and opened up running lanes, kept the quarterback mostly clean pocket. But I think that is where if Lacey and them can just dictate at will on the ground, that's going to make it for a long day for Mississippi State. I don't see them finding something all of a sudden to slow down who is probably just as good as Hardy.
You brought a little bit of health up for this Ole Miss football team. How much good will the bye week do from a health perspective for them in this Egg Bowl?
Yeah, no, the two major players, I think, was Kite and then Daquan Wright, the tight end, who Kiffin alluded to after the Florida game, at least according to him, was playing with only one good shoulder the past few weeks. So those were the two major guys that really needed this bye week. Outside of that, it's just your normal bumps and bruises I think you'd expect a team in the SEC to have through 11 games. So health, luckily, is still good with so much still ahead of them this year.
What do you think is the biggest key in determining the outcome of this game this weekend?
I think Ole Miss just sticking to what it's doing, and I know that kind of plays into probably what else we'll talk about here, and that's not letting all this distraction, outside noise, and everything affect them, as a lot of people are afraid it will, because y'all both know a lot better than a lot of people what these rivalry games are like. You can throw out the records, the stats, and everything, and it's going to be an ugly, just kind of close game sometimes. But if Ole Miss just plays how they have been on offense, I think they can make this a couple-score game quickly and just kind of control things the rest of the way. But just stay what they've been doing, keep the blinders on. I think that's the best thing for them, because I feel like they are the better team on paper. And I know that's a cliche thing, but this really feels like the only thing that can get in their way is themselves on Friday.
Jake, we were talking earlier about some of the tweets that were coming out from Ole Miss players yesterday, and we had a little bit of a back and forth on, does this mean that they are locked in? Does this mean that it is really a distraction? How does it not affect them? How does the noise not get to them? I don't care if you're on social or not. Sometimes those other kids are sitting in these press conferences too when coach is being asked about it. They hear post-game questions. They get them. Obviously, people walking around campus, people texting them, calling them. How is this team not distracted by this?
Yeah, I think anybody is naive to assume that it doesn't get to them because, like you just said, it's something a lot of people don't think about is these kids are students still. They're going to classes. Now, I know a lot try to do virtual or online, but some still go to physical classrooms and they're walking past students, normal everyday students who've got these questions that we're being asked and trying to ask, Kiffin. It's hard to not have it filter in. And I think Trinidad said it himself yesterday when we asked what kind of led to him wanting to put that statement out. And I know Lacey's was kind of more of a hot button topic of what kind of statement is real or not real. But Trinidad's felt genuine. And, he said it's just social media. We see it. It's out there. And we just trying to let fans know that they're locked in. But I feel like if you're, the old phrase, doth protest too much, that becomes a worry that maybe it is seeped in more than we want to say it has. And that becomes a concern at 11 a.m. Friday. I mean, Kiffin yesterday, too, in that press conference said this generation is different. They do see it, they do read it, but they know how to handle it better. And now, it's something to say it, but now they've got to show that it isn't affecting them come Friday.
Where would you assess the finality coming here? Like, do you think it's a matter of time before he goes? Because Cole and I have talked about it both on the air and off. I think Lane is really struggling with this. I don't think he wants to leave. I think he'd prefer to stay there and finish what they've started and get them to the top of the mountain. But some of the opportunities that are in front of him are just so significant. They're so good. And historically, they're so significant and so good. So what do you think is really tugging at Lane's heartstrings here?
Yeah, I've battled back and forth and trying to figure out what his mindset is because my thought is he's always feels like the coach that's wanted to get that legacy, get that program to a national title, be the one to have done that and erase all this stuff that was just rehashed, in that special a couple months ago or a month or so ago. But with all this Florida talk and then LSU talk and the plane trips and everything that's not really so secret kind of thrown out there in the past couple of weeks, it just feels like now he's a guy that's always chasing. I mean, it's hard to build a program if you're always jumping to rebuild and start over at another program a couple of years in. Now, of course, Ole Miss is the longest job he's had, 6 years. Would be 7 next year if he stays. But I just think yesterday it was an interesting press conference to me. I know he looked like he normally does, but it felt more uneasy, squirmy, whatever you want to say. And to that point of maybe internal struggle, that might be true. Now, a lot of people here interpret it as just a man who has a foot and a half out the door, and Saturday morning he'll be saying, I'm heading to Gainesville or Baton Rouge. But I truly think he still doesn't know. And it may be too simplistic to think this way, but it may come down to as simple as if they win Friday, get to 11-1, and they're in the playoffs, depending on where they fall in the seeding, he stays. If they lose and they're heading to like maybe a Citrus Bowl, if they don't get in at 10-2, he may head out. I mean, that may be too simplistic to view it, but it could be that easy.
We're talking with Jake Thompson. He covers Ole Miss, and we discussed a little bit earlier too, Jake, just what this administration has done for him. Can you take fans, listeners who maybe don't have an idea of what Ole Miss has put together for him the last few years, how they've supported him, how they've gone out of their way, and then maybe what's on the table for him now from Ole Miss and Keith Carter?
Yeah, they've, the word everybody loves to say when it comes to coaching jobs or coaching hires and what's out there is autonomy. What will the head coach have? Will he run the program how he wants? And I don't think anybody else could have left Kiffin alone as much as Ole Miss has, and Keith Carter and Chancellor Glenn Boyce. They've been there for him, given him everything he's wanted. They've let him kind of shift the focus from renovating a lot of projects. I mean, the Vault was supposed to have started renovation a few years ago, and they kind of put the halt on that when they saw Kiffin having so much success with NIL, and they kind of said, guys, get to the collective and let's do NIL. That's working. He wasn't too bothered by the stadium. Now, of course, he'll crack jokes about the crowds at times, but I think facilities-wise, he wasn't too bothered by what they have currently. I mean, he was given the keys to the castle and still will, and Ole Miss is willing to match and has said they will match whatever another offer is. I mean, he's going to get whatever he wants. So I think when he says it's not about money, I think it's fact, because it's going to be about equal whether he stays or goes to the other two, based on what we're told and what others have reported. So that's why it's so puzzling for people to wonder why he wants to leave, outside of somebody who's just never or gets restless and just always has to move at some point, because Ole Miss has rolled out the carpet and he will have whatever he wants if he stays here. So it just seems like there's something else in his head that's causing him not to have said, hey, I'm staying months ago.
Well, but that's the thing is historically, LSU and Florida have had higher ceilings. And I know it's different. I know it's a different era, but historically those two programs have had a higher ceiling. And I understand how much the world has changed, but I think many would wonder how sustainable is what he's done at Ole Miss. Is it sustainable? Can it continue to be done? And I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know if Lane does either. I think he's super optimistic with his process, but I think that that's what is leading to him considering these other opportunities. Because if everyone viewed Ole Miss on the same level as Florida and LSU as far as their ceiling, then it probably wouldn't be a conversation. He'd stay. But I guess my question to you is the ceiling higher at LSU and Florida than it is at Ole Miss?
Right now, I guess, if you're looking at it through the vacuum of this season, people are going to say no because Ole Miss is the one contending for a playoff spot. The other two aren't. But your point's exactly right. They are the blue bloods. They're the brands. You see the tiger and the gator. You know exactly who that is, even if you're not in the SEC. Ole Miss has always been that program that's tried to break through that ceiling into that group. Now, Kiffin has done it the last 6 years, but that's because the landscape has changed, and he was kind of the first to grasp this NIL and all that, and others came along, including all those blue blood programs. And I think the ceiling could be higher at those two schools, consistently long term, because you just don't know what's going to happen year to year. But the problem is, is the patience going to be there for him to have a couple of years to get it going at a LSU and out of Florida, whereas Ole Miss, kind of gave him 6 years and on, and never really been like, all right, time to move on. They got a little frustrated with that 2022 season with how it ended. But beyond that, they've not really pressured him to say, this is the year you've got to get something. Whereas, of course, the expectations are everything every year out of Florida and LSU.
Strictly opinion right now, Jake, where does this end up? How does this end in, let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 4 days?
It's one of those things where I've gone back and forth almost daily, maybe, hourly. But after yesterday, it just feels like unless there's just some big kind of surprise, thing here, it just feels like he's considering his options elsewhere, whether that's Gainesville or Baton Rouge. But, it's just hard to see right now that he stays. But, like I said, if they win and he literally does not know, as we've all kind of, alluded to, and he sleeps on it, and he tells him Saturday he's staying, that would not surprise me either. It's one of those where it literally is a 50-50 to me, and the outcome either way would not surprise me.
We appreciate the time, Jake. It's going to be interesting to watch. I know it's going to be interesting for you guys here down the stretch. Keep us posted. We'll have you back soon.
All right. Thanks, guys.
There you go. Jake Thompson with the On3 Sports Network covers Ole Miss, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. I have another aspect of this that I don't feel like a lot of people are talking about, GMAC. I want to bring that up on the other side that could have something to do with that deadline or announcement or line in the sand, if you believe that that's real and that was actually laid out for Lane Kiffin, or if Lane Kiffin agreed on making an announcement or a decision at a certain point in time. We'll do that when we come back. First, tell our listeners about Shannara Flooring.
Well, Fu and his guys have continued to stockpile inventory. They have so many square feet of Core-Tec flooring by Shaw in stock. And that Core-Tec flooring, remember, it comes with 20 mil wear layer, super durable, super dependable. And because of the 50,000 square feet that they have, they're passing savings on to you of 20 to 40%. So take advantage of that savings now here at the end of the year. Remember Shannara Flooring, when you want Core-Tec, call who? Call Fu. Call them today at Shannara Flooring, 205-518-6423, or go online to fooandyou.com.
Maybe another part of the Lane Kiffin decision / countdown that you hadn't thought about. We'll discuss it next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Maybe a different aspect of the Lane Kiffin decision, line in the sand, whatever that is, that hadn't been taken into consideration just yet. We'll get to that in just a moment. 800-239-9569. You want to be a part of the show, listen online, jocksfm.com. Download the app in your app store, search JOX. Also, search JOX945 on YouTube. You can watch us live every day. Tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jock skill. A lot of different ways to listen. Those podcasts from each hour, an interview of the show, up at jocksfm.com and there on the app. Greg, it's almost Christmas time. That's why our listeners need to know about Bromberg's.
Yeah, mark your calendars. The Bromberg's pre-Christmas 2-day sale is back Wednesday and Thursday, December 3rd and 4th. So about a week from now. Both the Mountain Brook store and the Summit stores are 20% off throughout the store. With diamonds, gemstones, designer jewelry, fine timepieces, fabulous giftware, everything she'll love at incredible savings. Make her Christmas wishes come true with a gift wrapped in Bromberg's signature silver box. Don't wait. This sale only lasts 2 days, and some exclusions apply. See the store for details. So go and check them out. It's Bromberg's in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit.
Greg, remember when we went through the SEC championship game scenarios, clinching scenarios yesterday?
Yes.
And we talked about for Georgia, they needed an Alabama loss or a Texas A&M loss to get in.
Correct.
Because it doesn't matter. They play a non-conference game, what they do. It's just all they need
already in the...
Yeah, one of those two teams lose, and they're in. Alabama just needs to win, and they are in. Now, there are other ways that they could get in. Texas A&M needs to win or Alabama to lose and Ole Miss to lose. Both of those would have to happen if they did not win. There was another part of that conversation that we had, and that was what Ole Miss needs to do to make the SEC championship game. That would be to win with a Texas A&M loss and an Alabama loss.
Correct.
Does not feel likely, but
definitely possible.
Absolutely possible. When would Ole Miss find out about that?
That would be Saturday night.
Interesting that you would push said decision to Saturday, potentially to wait and find out if you, by some chance, did qualify for the Southeastern Conference Championship game. Might that be a part of why this was pushed until then?
Might have been.
Now, you'll know half of that on Friday night.
Correct.
So Texas A&M wins Friday night, you're out.
Yes.
You can make a decision Saturday morning, put something out if you want to. Texas A&M goes down to Texas in the game that you're going to be on the call for. Now, all of a sudden, we might want to wait around for 24 hours.
Maybe, hey guys, check back with us Sunday.
Going to move this a day.
We're going to do the Sunday church-going news drop.
Or you could do the 10p Saturday night news drop in the middle of other games, in the middle of rivalry Saturday.
Just say, check back with me. We're going to just check and see if there's white smoke coming out of the...
Just an interesting thought there.
Out of the chimney.
That maybe a qualification for the Southeastern Conference Championship game may have a little bit to do with when any sort of a decision / announcement / statement were to come out and be released. Hadn't heard a lot of folks discussing that part of this, Greg.
No, because I don't think at this point the conversation centering around Ole Miss making their first appearance in the SEC championship game. Remember, this is a 33-year-old game, however long this game was, 92 being the first year. They've never played in it. And yet that is an afterthought right now.
But that in and of itself is wild to think about.
Crazy.
That this could be on top of all the other craziness, that this could be the first time that takes place. And then these what ifs, ands, ors with the potential that the head coach could be doing, might be doing, could be moving on to, might be staying for, are all going to be there. Jim is in St. Petersburg, would like to talk college football. Welcome in, Jim. You're on the Higginbotham Hotline.
Hey, greetings, guys. Longtime listener. Been living in the Southern footprint my whole adult life, but big Ten, Ohio State fan. So I'm not sure if I'm the only one who listens to you guys in that fan base. But first of all, I wanted to bring out, I'm not sure, the earlier question about the one player that was most impactful, Randy Moss. from small school Marshall, who was crazy amazing without a lot of additional support.
I mean, I don't know how many other guys you would even reference with Marshall football. Obviously, Chad Pennington would be one. There are a couple others you could throw out, but they also weren't FCS or FBS when that happened initially. They made the move while he was there. So even more so, I think he's probably the guy that you would reference that with. Marshall would be a good one. Yes.
Yeah, great. So Cole, this is mostly directed towards you. So the last couple of years, I know listening during this week specifically, and you know how the two conferences go back and forth on rivalries. And look, we all have very passionate fan bases, but most of us in the North are kind of scratching our heads anytime someone from the SEC or the South even mentions another rivalry that could be, within arm's length of Ohio State, Michigan. And so I want to know, like this year again, are you sticking by that again? I know that you'll piss off your fan base if you change your mind, but where do you stand now as far as the greatest rivalry in college football history?
Well, number one is Army-Navy, always will be. I'm not going to change my mind on that. I'm not going to go against that. That's going to be it forever. And I don't think wherever college football goes in the future, I don't think that's going to change. That game is on its own continent, and I don't think that's going to change. I do think that's based upon subjective. That's obviously not an objective. There's nothing objective that supports that.
Well, it's an opinion. It's his opinion.
Could that be?
Yeah,
supported?
It's his opinion.
No, I get that.
You asked him his opinion, so I don't think there's anything wrong with him giving his opinion when you asked for it.
Gotcha. And Greg,
hold on a second. What would your pushback be on why Army-Navy would be the best rivalry in college football?
Well, I mean, just for starters, I know that your guys' employer, ESPN, named Ohio State, Michigan, not just the best rivalry in college football, not just the best rivalry in football, but the best rivalry in sport.
Well, I would push back on that. I'd push back on that just a little bit because I would imagine that was an individual who wrote an article on that company's platform. I don't think the company would go out and say, everyone who works here believes this.
Well, it was called the End of the Century Rankings by ESPN. I mean, so it was pretty widely publicized there at the end of the 2000. And, my perspective is like since then, the rivalry, Ohio State. Was
that the one that had
Michigan
Secretariat as the best athlete?
Just gotten even more heated. Well, I'm not sure. I mean, Cole, it's your employer. So, I mean, I'm just going by what
one of my
ESPN
employers. I have multiple.
Is out there, stating, but again, I thought that last year that you said Auburn, Alabama was the best rivalry in college football. So if listen, I'm a veteran, and so I support the passion when it comes to the armed forces game, but I am pretty much when you look at the two games, Ohio State,
we can move on from now, and that's fine. I have Army-Navy in its own category. It's in a category of its own, and I'm not even really going to put it against these other games that we're going to talk about. If you would like to reference the Iron Bowl and its importance, then absolutely I will do that. Do I think that's the best rivalry in college football? I absolutely do. Do I think that Ohio State and Michigan have had more games of more importance in the last 20 years when you're referencing national championships or AP top 5 finishes, Heisman Trophy winners, things of that? Sure, maybe. That's fine. I just hadn't heard a lot of the things around the game that have happened between Ohio State and Michigan fans, similar to what I have with people in this state, which brings the meaning to it in this state for people that attended these two schools, root for these two schools, grew up in this state, of being that much more importance. First and foremost, they're both in the same state. That, to me, levels the importance up higher than it does for Ohio State, Michigan. You could make the argument on the other side that, no, 2 states are involved in this, so therefore it's that much more important for that many more people because we literally have 2 states going up against one another. So it's my opinion because of what it means to the people not having the Detroit Lions, the Detroit Tigers, the Detroit Pistons, not having the Cleveland Browns, as if that brings a lot of relevance to NFL circles anyway, or the Cincinnati Bengals or Reds or Guardians or Indians or Cavs or whatever. You don't have those things to take other people's attention away from it. Therefore, the sole focus from a football perspective in this state goes to this game and mainly these two teams and what they do on an annual basis. So, yeah, this is why I put the Egg Bowl a lot of other ones that most people won't, because I don't think the hatred is anywhere near the same in a lot of other rivalries than it is for Mississippi State and Ole Miss. And I actually think the fact that Ole Miss and Mississippi State are not contending for national championships makes that rivalry more important, because that is the most important thing that they're gunning for on a lot of annual basis in a lot of years that they go play. That Golden Egg Trophy that they play for is more important than a national championship because they hadn't had opportunities to play for that. You could make the argument that the fact that Ohio State won a national championship and got their ass kicked by Michigan last year brings down the importance of that football game. I wouldn't say that, but a lot of other people would. So that would be the beginning of the basis of my argument as to why I would have the Iron Bowl number one. Yes.
I don't feel like you have to justify it. I think it's all a matter of perspective. If your interpretation is the importance on the bigger landscape, on the big picture, and the fact that the national championship and the Heismans and the viewership and all this other stuff, it's the very few games to me are as important as Michigan, Ohio State. I have no problem with that at all. But if you want to talk about the level of intensity, I don't think the Iron Bowl takes a backseat to many. I've never called the Michigan-Ohio State game. Not looking likely that I will anytime soon. I have called the Iron Bowl, have called the Egg Bowl, have called Georgia Tech, have called Florida State, have called, will call Texas A&M, have called Texas, Oklahoma. So been pretty fortunate to see a lot of them. And I think this whole notion of, well, it's Ohio State, Michigan, so it's the best. I don't agree with that. Just because you have the most viewers and the biggest fan bases doesn't make it the best, in my opinion. In recent years, it's been phenomenal, outstanding.
Incredible game.
Terrific. And there's been other years where I could literally care less about it. It just depends on the year. So I think this year is great. I think Ohio State's going to run them out of the gym, but
a lot of people thought that last year.
Yeah, well, should have last year. That was Ohio State's fault. But I digress. I think it all depends on the year. But as far as Cole's livelihood, having lived every day of his life in the state of Alabama, who can blame him for feeling the way he feels? You're going to tell me how I'm supposed to feel about certain things? Someone wants to call into this show and tell us how we're supposed to feel about certain things, then we'll quickly press the dump button, because Cole's experience puts the Iron Bowl second to none. I don't have any problems with that. My experience, having played in it, second to none. Close to, though, frankly, Texas, Oklahoma. Why? Because I grew up going to that game with my dad. And that game meant a lot to me as a kid. And it has a lot to do with why I became a college football fan. So it's all a matter of perspective. I don't think there's a wrong answer, frankly.
I think one of the intriguing parts about it is, like you said, the reason that all of these games are awesome, the reason that all these games that we're talking about are cool, is because of the meaning. It's because of how much they mean. And because one means more to you or Saber or me or Damien or our caller, that's what makes it great. And if Ohio State, Michigan has more meaning to you, that's awesome. Maybe Michigan State, Michigan has more meaning to you. Maybe Toledo, Miami of Ohio has more meaning to you. I don't care. You want to talk about New Mexico State playing for a brass spittoon? Maybe that game, when you face off against UTEP, has more meaning to you. But the fact that it has that meaning and it conjures up those emotions is what makes them all great. And it's never going to be a consensus, I don't believe, because of how you just laid it out, Greg. I didn't grow up in Columbus or Cincinnati or Cleveland or Detroit. I don't. Or Grand Rapids. So that game didn't mean as much to me growing up. I watched it as a kid. I watched Orlando Pace and Andy Katzenmoyer and Desmond Howard. Like, I watched them all. It's incredible.
For sure.
It's great television. Elvis Gerbach, Tim Biakabatuka. I watched them. Saw them. John Runyon. I saw them. But that game doesn't mean as much to me. And if it means more to you, congratulations. Maybe the Sunshine State Showdown means more to you. Because I can tell you this, you go back to the late 90s, there were many college football games that were littered with more NFL talent than those two teams when they took the field.
Yeah.
And when Peter Boulware and Andre Wadsworth about ruined Danny Werfel, no one believed what they were watching. And then they came back in the Sugar Bowl a month later, and Rydell Anthony and Ike Hilliard put it on them and returned the favor. Like, you're telling me that there was a better game than that in that moment? Probably not. Have we seen some USC Notre Dame games that have been the best games of the year?
Incredible.
It's happened before. And now we get Texas A&M back on an annual basis, which we've seen incredible games in that one. Can you imagine growing up in the state of Texas? And these two teams are both in the mix for playoff and SEC championship berths the last 2 years. Like, goodness gracious. I'm not going to go try to convince some guy that grew up in Denton, Texas, that the Iron Bowl is more important than, what's it called? The Lone Star
Showdown.
State Lagway? Just Texas A&M is all it needs to be.
That's all it is.
That's what makes college football great, man. Like, I love it's like I told my daughter when we sat there on the field in Jordan-Hare Stadium and Auburn just lost to Alabama and she's crying her eyes out. I said, the fact that this means this much to you makes me love you even more. Like, that's what it's about. And that's why we love this game, the sport, these teams, these rivalries. I love seeing people hate each other for a day. Now, I don't need to hear about, Misty stabbing her boyfriend in the trailer park because Alabama lost. But it does add to the dynamic. Just the reality of it. So it just makes it cool, man. Like, I love the fact that he calls in pissed off that I will not name Michigan, Ohio State the best rivalry in college football. Because that invokes his passion and his energy and his emotion for that game and the sport. That's great. It's cool. Game Day Men's Health was cool. Some of you this week are going to be feeling on edge. Some of you are going to miss some sleep. If that's the case or you need to lose some weight, Game Day Men's Health can help you today. Go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now. Sign up for the free consultation, free PSA test, free testosterone test. They're going to tell you where your baseline health is, and then they're going to help you get back to feeling your best. And let's be honest. Rivalry week has some of us not feeling our best. And that's what Game Day Men's Health is here for. 10% off any service they offer by mentioning Mac and Cube when you walk in the front door. Holistic approach to health and wellness. Book your free consultation today at GameDayMen'sHealth.com, now open in Trustville. More rivalry debates next, right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Talking rivalries. Always fun getting people's opinion on what the best rivalry is, maybe which game they like the most. But it's going to come down to which one means the most to you and for what reasons. And that's okay. That's fine. Greg, tell our listeners about Canty.
Canty can fix it. Cantey can fix it. They are the foundation specialists in our area. They can get you taken care of. There's a lot of things here in Alabama that can contribute to challenges with your foundation, like soil shifting, uneven ground, moisture, weather, rain, like today, becomes very challenging. So today might be a good day to go and check and make sure there's no standing water around the foundation or in the basement. It might be good to go and make sure there's no moisture or musty smells or wood rot in the crawl space. These are all indications that you could have some problems with your foundation and with the concrete underneath your home. And Canty Foundation Specialists offer free inspections and estimates so homeowners know exactly what's going on under their house, and their work is backed by lifetime transferable warranties. You can call them today at 205-509-3991 or go online at Canty, Cantey, canfixit.com.
Speaking of Texas A&M, light preview of that game now, Greg. You're going to be on the call for it. I personally feels like there's a lot of false confidence around Texas in this game. Now, I do believe there are ways they can complicate it. I have stated my concerns with Marcel Reed. I think if you actually go watch the little bit that he played against Samford, a couple of those showed up. He's going to have misses. Some of the decisions will be questionable. The offensive line has been a little bit inconsistent. Now, when they're good, they're good. When the run game's humming, it's humming. And there are some inexplicable yards given up by the defense on the ground at times. Now, situational football, circumstances of where games were can obviously be a part of that conversation. I wouldn't push back on all of that. Where can Texas complicate this game the most for A&M?
I think that there are parts of A&M's defense that occasionally can get got with some misdirection. I do think you can get them a little bit if you're committed to the run game. I do think you can get them a little bit on islands on the outside. I think catch and runs can get them. So I think A&M is excellent, really, really good, as long as you avoid third and long. Like as long as you live in third and long. If you can somehow get it to 1st and 10, 2nd and 5, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, you can be all right. You can move the ball on. But when you get in third long, forget about it. It's a wrap at that point. So it's very, very important not to lose yardage on your 1st and 2nd down plays because their third down stuff's next level dumb. I mean, it's just dumb. Like dumb in a good way. It's like I don't even know what you do to try to defend it, frankly, looking at how they attack you.
Yeah, it's when you brought that up, though, this was the first question that came into my mind. Is Texas committed to the run game?
They haven't been. I think they can be, though. I think they know it will calm. I think they know it'll calm them down. They will calm the Aggies down if they can just commit to the run game a little bit.
What is your biggest concern for Texas in this game? Like you said, they have been. 54 attempts against Mississippi State, 47 against Auburn, 42 against Florida, 40 against LSU, 45 against Utah State. It hasn't always been that's A&M being committed to the run game.
Yeah.
Because that's one that I look at too that kind of comes and goes. But as far as Texas being committed to the run game, 41 against Sam Houston State, 35 against Oklahoma. That was probably the biggest, I would say, commitment. 56 against UTEP was what it was. By the way, you needed 56 because nobody was breaking a tackle in that game. The last three, 28, 17, and 27. Because that's the problem that I see is I have not seen that commitment to the run game. Now, sometimes it's hard to be committed to it when it's not going, and it's not great. And it hasn't been great for them. But it's going to have to go to an extent to kind of loosen up this defense if they're going to find sustained success.
Yeah. I think they're going to have to stay committed to it. Like it's got to be a balanced attack. 50-50. Hand it, run it, 1st and 10. I think that's really, really important, is creating balance on 1st and 10. And I think Contravian Wisner, who has, by the way, played really well at times this year, has been banged up at times as well. That guy's still one of your best players. Like, he has to be a featured player in this matchup. If he's not, you were doing yourself a disservice.
Yep.
He's that good. And he was the best player on the field against Oklahoma. So that was the best defense you faced. I think Oklahoma's defense is scarier to me on a down-in, down-out basis than A&M, except on third down and long.
Yeah, third down is...
Third down and long, forget about it.
Ooh.
Don't even try. Just punt on third down.
We tried to show last night on Read and React. I don't think people have a full appreciation for the detail that goes into the Oklahoma defense. And because I think a lot of people see it like, well, they just load the box. Well, they slant and move. They twist. You have to really dive into the alignment of the defense and how there's an understanding of what plays are most likely coming and how you're going to line a guy up to make it feel like an impossible block. And then that defender is going to move to another individual that provides him with an almost impossible block. But by originally being aligned somewhere else, there is a failure on that attempt at an impossible block because of the difficulty that came with it initially, but now that's gone. But by forcing that individual to pay attention to that one that just left where he was, you're essentially causing two failures on that offensive line. And then, oh, by the way, there are guys that just individually can beat you. Doesn't matter where they're lined up or where they move to. Like Grayson Hall can give you a swim move and he's gone. You know, David Stone strike and shed and you're on the ground. So trust me, I have a full appreciation for what Oklahoma's doing and the precision in which they do it with. There's a little bit of a gamble with it, but it's not the gamble that people think. It's not the gamble of, oh, we're just going to go move because we don't think people can handle it. It is intentionally being aligned somewhere that you know is a problem right out of the gate and then going somewhere else that is going to be a problem for the next individual. And then when the other guy loops back around, there's usually nobody there to handle him. So it's problematic in a lot of ways. We'll continue talking that, give you a bad box score of the day next on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 9:50, Tuesday, November 25th. Bad box score of the day coming your way. First, Greg, tell our listeners about Polar Bear Services.
Well, they're a local company owned by an Iraq War. Polar Bear Services is not owned by an Iraq War veteran.
That's okay.
But Wes and the guys are phenomenal, and I love them greatly. They've come out to my house and helped me with a million different things. They have really been helpful as it comes to my HVAC system, and knowing the cold weather's rolling in these next couple days, I'd encourage you to get this number on speed dial, 205-497-BEAR, because in the event in which things get frozen up this weekend, which is a real possibility, you're going to want to make sure that your home is prepared. Last thing you want is to be watching the Iron Bowl inside and it's 30 degrees in your house. So I highly recommend you calling Polar Bear Services to get your system tuned up and or to get it fixed in the event in which you have some issues. They can also help you with your home electrical work, plumbing, whole home generator install. We've got some storms in the area today. If you lose power, call them. They can get you one of those generators installed right now. I've been using Polar Bear Service for a long time. So remember, if you have a problem with your electrical, plumbing, heat, or air, just pick up the phone and call the Bears, 205-497-BEAR. It's 497-BEAR.
All right, bad box score of the day. I will take you to NAIA football.
Heck yeah, football.
It's real football. The McPherson, Kansas.
They're the Tigers.
They're not.
McNuggets.
No. Would be a great name, though, for their mascot if you had one.
The Mounties.
Gamecocks?
This
when I think
is
Kansas,
my Mountie McNugget.
See, when I think Kansas, I always think mountains.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bulldogs.
Ugh.
They took on the Sterling College.
We've had them before.
The Sharks.
No, they're the Seahawks.
No.
Silvers.
Snakes.
Knights.
Really?
Bulldogs.
I mean, it's
Pay close attention here. After a scoreless first quarter,
Okay.
Scoreless.
just sneak past the Knights 85-0.
Good coach. Adjustments.
Maybe.
0-0 after one. 38-28-19 on the board for McPherson.
What happened?
A lot. The Knights were 1 of 13 on third down.
Okay.
They had 145 yards of total offense. Bulldogs had 609. Your passing yard differential, 524 to 129, which means the rushing yards was only 85 to 16.
Okay.
They punted 10 times. That's Sterling, by the way. McPherson only punted once for 386 yards.
Okay.
10 penalties for 132 yards and turned it over 4 times.
That's what got them.
It was part of it.
That's what
it
got
was.
them.
Contributed.
They started adding up, man.
Ryan Markarian, 20 of 32, 407 yards, 5 passing touchdowns.
Have yourself a day.
Travian Lewis Johnson, 7 catches, 197 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Let's go.
Jemai Rutherford, 4 catches, 119 yards,
Let's
and
go.
a touchdown. 5 different players caught a touchdown pass in the game.
Spread the wheel.
Not to be outdone. Friends, Kansas.
Huh?
okay.
The Rachels.
Friends College. Friends.
The Rosses.
Friends. Is
That's the name of the school, not the player.
No, it's the name of the school.
Oh, okay.
We're on to a new game now.
Like,
okay.
Yeah, I thought that was another coach on the field or something. Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
the Joeys.
no, they're the sitcoms.
The Monicas.
Fanatics.
Sitcoms, they're the Eagles.
Same thing.
They took on the St. Mary singular.
Gales.
They're the Angels.
No,
No, they're the Waves.
I believe they are the Stars.
Oh,
Could
so
be
we don't
wrong.
even know.
I didn't even believe in that. What the
Google's
heck?
not working for me right now. Friends College, by the way, gets to 12-0 with a 69-3 win over
Let's
St.
go.
Mary.
That's nice. Okay.
Singular. St. Mary goes to 3-9 on the season.
All our own.
Total offense 683 to 204.
The power of friendship, baby.
St. Mary with 41 yards passing, however, in that
Yeah,
victory.
she's doing it to herself.
St. Mary rushed for 642 yards
What?
in a football game.
Rushed.
One singular football game
Woo.
on 42 attempts.
Oh gosh.
Greg,
Yes.
can you do that math?
I cannot.
That's 15.3 per.
Oof.
Boy.
That's a first down and a half on every carry. Ah!
Yeah, they're getting out of gaps, man. That's tough.
For St. Mary's, Cavante Baker, 8 for 184 on the ground, 4 rushing touchdowns. Walker Overman, 10 for 121 rushing touchdown on the ground. Nick Cordova, 4 for 119, 2 touchdowns on the ground.
Yeah, this is triple option. This is wing T.
It's
yeah.
past that.
Yeah.
That's definitely
Line it
it.
up and try to stop us.
Joey Millspaw, 1 for 52 and a touchdown.
Wait,
Yeah.
Miss Powell?
Millspaw.
Yeah,
He's got to be a fullback. By God, he better be.
Oh, yeah.
Elon Conley, 1 for 40 and a touchdown.
Is
Alrighty,
Miss
Elon.
Paul going to BC?
The fullbacks are just getting
Let's
in them.
go.
Golly.
642.
Yes.
Whew. I feel bad for defensive linemen.
Not me. They're mean.
And St. Mary rushed for 118.
That's pretty decent. Like, you'll take
Not
it.
verse 642. It's not.
That's
Like,
demoralizing.
By the way, St.
You
Mary
think?
on 642 yards rushing, lost time of possession 35-50 to 22-37.
Those one-play drives.
That is today's show. Well, yeah, when the fullbacks are scoring from 50 yards out, the TOP is not going to go your way. 3-man front coming at you next.